Tonight we have a special show for you. If you fish with minnows, shad, shrimp, or hardtails, then listen up. Our guides are standing by with the 411 on where and how to use your bait to get the best catch. Tonight, it's all about the bait here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
You're watching the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and we're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy. This week, Rick, like you said, we're focusing on what makes our fishing world go round and what makes catching possible, and that is bait. This show will be full of tips and tricks from our captains and guides that will help you match that hatch so you can hopefully get the fish of a lifetime.
Speaking of catch, you know, your nail polish and your toes, they caught my attention. Brie, they match your outfit. I'm so impressed that you were able to know exactly what you were wearing to match your stuff.
I'm impressed too. Sometimes I have it together, sometimes I don't. But someone who always has it together. We have to go over to the workbench. Let's get a sneak peek of what bullet points Dave has for the bait today.
Yeah, you're not going to see my toes today.
Oh, no.
We never see those toes.
Although it is a bait show. You know.
Oh boy.
They're not polished up.
They're not polished. That's all right.
They could probably go as a bait. We're talking about bait. You guys go ahead, and we're gonna go ahead and get after it.
Just had to mention toes, Dave.
Yeah.
We're all flabbergasted over here.
It's actually my best feature.
Of course it is. All right, well, let's start in the STARTRON Middle Fresh region with Matt, who always keeps it simple. So let's hear about the simple bait talk, Matt.
All right, Brie. Yeah, we keep it real simple here in the Middle Fresh region with bait. We pretty much, when we talk about live bait, it's all about minnows. The little small crappie minnows. Very rarely do we use any other type of live bait. You know, the shad are great if you want to throw a cast net and catch some shad, but it's just really hard to keep them alive. So most people don't bother because the minnows will catch anything that swims in our lakes. For catfish, you'll also see some guys use some dead shad or some cut bait of various types. But the catfish love the live minnows as well, so you just can't go wrong with them. You know, you want to invest in a good minnow box with a strong aeration system. Find a shop that's close to the lake so you don't have to carry them too far. And you're in business. And they're usually easy to find. Most gas stations and tackle stores around the lake carry them so they can get you set up. And like I said, as far as live bait goes, stick with those little minnows and you can catch anything you need to catch. Moving on into my report for this week on I'm going to start with the crappie. We ran out of time last week before I could get to the crappie report. So kicking off with the slabs this week. I'm going to start on a lake that we don't hear a whole lot about for crappie fishing, and that's LBJ. You know, we hear a lot about the big bass that Jared Poole and the Hill Country Hammer crew are always catching down there, but we just don't talk about the crappie much. But Jared told me that this week they've been catching a lot of nice slabs, and they're finding them in about 16 to 20 foot of water, clinging really tight to the brush. And here we go back to the minnows. He said that the live minnows have been the ticket for catching them. And he sent me a photo to go along with that to exemplify what they're catching there. You can see they got some real nice slabs. They got a good mess of crappie laid out there for a fish fry. Looks like it'll make a tasty treat for those guys. Now, up here at Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn, I often lump those two lakes together for the crappie reports because the fish do basically the same thing and utilize the same depths for the most part. You just really can't go wrong this time of the year on either one of those lakes, looking around in 15 to 30 foot of water out around the bridge piling and the natural timber. Of course, you hear a lot about man-made brush piles, and we do put out a lot of brush, and we catch a lot of fish on those brush piles. But the thing is, you really don't have to do all that work if you're just looking to catch some on the weekend. You know, we do that because we're out there guiding, and we've got to catch them every day, so we need to put those brush piles out. But if you get yourself a GARMIN live scope, go look around those bridge pilings and that natural timber out there, you can just catch all you need, really. You can fill the box up with them. And once you find them, the best way to catch them is that Panfish Assassin jig. You just can't beat that thing. Pumpkin seed shad color has been really great the last couple of years. I've been catching a lot of fish on it lately. And I've got a new color that I've been mixing in as well called Electric Shiner. It's a real nice looking color that's been putting them in the box. I'm putting that on a 16th or a 32nd ounce jig head and just let it fall down slowly into that school of crappie. It's a really fun bite. And then, of course, we always catch them on the minnows as well. If you want to get right over the top of them and just drop a minnow down, that works good too. Now going over to the largemouth bass, here on Toledo Bend, we're doing that shallow, deep shuffle still happening. You know, it's we've had a lot of up and down water level lately. We've had a fair amount of rain this past week, and you know, they're generating a lot of electricity through the dam down there, so they're pulling a lot of water through the dam. And so as soon as we get a rain, it comes up and it goes back down. It's just got these fish kind of going back and forth. But that means you can really catch them any way that you like to catch them. If you're a deep guy, you can get out there deep and catch those big ones that have already moved out and staying out. If you're a shallow guy, you can get up around the cypress trees and the shoreline grass and catch them shallow. So just pick your poison there. If you're going to go for the shallow bite, I do recommend that you stay close to some deeper water where the fish can move back and forth with that fluctuating water level and feel comfortable. You know, and have a lot of bait close by, because your bait fish are going to want to stay towards those deeper areas when they're not up there spawning. So that's where you're going to find the most action. There's a lot of ways to catch them right now up shallow, from topwater presentations down to your subsurface moving baits. But my go-to for consistency is that Bass Assassin skunk ape. You can pitch that thing around the cypress trees and in the grass, and it's just awesome right now for catching them. You can use natural colors. I like to keep it natural right now, like a green pumpkin, watermelon red, or that Houdini color that matches the bait fish so well. Pitch it on a light Texas rig with a big flipping hook and have a ball.
All right, Matt, we got to go. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots from the Middle Fresh region. Matt says that the crappie are hot on LBJ in 16 to 20 feet and on Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend in 15 to 30 feet of water. There are bass offshore on all three as well, but the late spring shallow bite is hanging on as well.
All right, Rick. Captain Carl Weston in the Fish Bites Upper Coast region is all about that bait, so let's listen in to see what our bite will be. Talk to us, Carl.
Hey, okay. While we're focusing on bait this week, it's a pretty neat thing for us going inshore all the way to offshore. You know, all of us anglers have our preference. You got live, dead, and artificial, of course, but you're going to need one of them to have a successful trip out on the water. You know, personally, I like to keep all three on hand on a big offshore trip if we're going a long ways out. Now, things can get a little stinky out there with an old messy bait cooler, but it's nothing that Starbright Boat Wash can't clean up at the end of the day. Now, one of the first places to look for bait for us here in the Upper Coast is around the boat ramps. I'm not sure how it is in Florida, but here in Texas, we have schools of mullet all around the dock, and they'll range from finger mullet up to sometimes 8 to 12 inches in size. You know, pull your cast net out, throw a few times, you can catch some of those. Another bait that's close to the docks in our area is piggy perch. Now, we catch these in a trap, usually overnight. They're great bait for scamp and gag grouper offshore. And like I say, you can purchase these fish traps in your local tackle shops. It makes it pretty easy. Throw them in the night before, pull them up in the morning, into your live well, and off you go. Now, let's say you left the dock early, before daylight, to get an early start. Here, just outside of the jetties, we have the larger shad that school outside. Once again, cast net, 8 to 10, 12 foot of water. You'll see them working under the birds. You can fill the bait wells. They're good live or dead. So catching your own bait, you know, will assure a great day on the water. And also these days helps with the pocketbook with the cost of fishing these days. Now, offshore a little further, you know, it can be a little more difficult to catch bait offshore. And so we hit the rock piles and structure like oil rigs, catch hardtails. This is a great bait for us. And to catch these baits, we use an R&R tackle sabiki rig. They vary in sizes, colors, shapes, styles, custom targets, type of bait fish you want. My personal is the HT16, which is made just for catching hardtails, and that's what it does. You know, they've got the D-hookers and everything that goes with it, everything to cover your bait necessities. And we have a picture today of a stringer of hardtails caught on that same R&R sabiki rig we were talking about.
Nice. What else you got for us? Redfish.
We're going to sneak back inshore on redfish. And, you know, the heat is on up here. It's getting a lot warmer. We got close to triple digits last week. So Sabine Lake is in at 83 degrees now. You watch the temperatures we've been talking about every week bumping about 3 degrees. The water has cleared up. The bait fish are moving in. The redfish are hitting live shrimp hard. Almost everything you throw at them right now. Moving over to Bolivar, it's about 82, so the temperature is keeping right as the bull reds are steady along the jetties. The guys are throwing fish bites. Easy strip in shrimp flavor. Pink in color is doing good. Over in Trinity Bay, the redfish, they're not discriminating either. They're striking soft plastics, live shrimp. West Galveston Bay, 83 degrees as well. The open bay reefs. So what we're saying is just about anywhere you can find the bait, you're going to find the fish. And we have a picture today of Cindy with a nice redfish. And as you can see, she's keeping her bait bucket close to her.
Go, Cindy.
Let's go offshore. Hurry, bud.
Offshore? All right. I'm away from home. Let's talk about Jack Crevalle. We were off the other day and about 400 foot caught some nice big fish. This is a great fish to catch, fun to catch. A few fun facts about these are you can catch from inshore all the way out to 1,000 feet. Our record here in Texas is 50 pounds, which is a big one caught down in Aransas back in the 70s. These are really pretty fish, fun to catch, fun to watch blow up on top water. They love bucktail jigs. And we have a picture here today of a big one we caught last week.
All right, tell us about the groupers quickly.
All right, let's touch on one of our favorites. There are many species of grouper out there. We've been hitting our favorite spots offshore. It's been a little rough, but it's been producing good fish. Caught some Warsaw 400 to 700 foot last week on hardtails. Caught some scamp and gag in the 300 foot range on those rock piles on live piggy perch or cut bait. Now, if you're really lucky, you land a grouper on a sabiki rig, which we'll go over later. This proves that the females come inshore to spawn, Rick. Usually we catch these fish out 50, 60 miles out, but we have a picture here of a little one I caught 9 miles offshore in 68 foot of water on a sabiki rig.
That's so cool, bud. Thank you for those pictures this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the Upper Coast region. Carl says that the redfish are steady over at Boulevard all along the jetties, throwing fish bites, easy strips in shrimp flavor, green or pink in color, and then offshore scamp groupers on the rock piles in 300 feet of water using piggy perch or cut baits.
All right, our lower fresh region is spilling its bait secrets next, but first we're going to see what Dave is spilling over there for rigs and techniques at the workbench. Dave's always spilling something. They're hopping, see?
Yeah.
Look at them.
Pick your bait of choice. We got all kinds of baits over here.
We got shrimps, crabs.
Because we all
Keep
about
right.
that bait.
Little minnows.
About that bait. Bye-bye.
Making train.
We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio Sunglasses. Blue light blocking. Radically clear lenses. GARMIN. Plot your paradise. FiberTex. Leaders in fiberglass fabrication and repair. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Well, Dave, we're here at the workbench and we're talking about bait, so let's go ahead and roll right into it.
Well, you know, first we're going to talk a little bit about catching bait, and you know, all the captains are probably going to mention a little bit about sabiki rigs, especially the saltwater guys for sure. And when you're, you know, catching baits with a sabiki rig is probably one of the best, least damaging ways to catch the bait. You know, either that or a little tiny gold hair hook by itself, you know, which is just a sabiki rig all by itself, really. But when you're catching them with these sabiki rigs, any kind of bait, it's a hook and line type thing. You're catching them in the mouth. It's pretty easy on the bait so that they last a long time. And when you get them in the boat, when you get them up to the boat to put them in the live well and stuff, the less you handle them, the better. It's all baits, you know. You want really frisky live baits, you know.
Right.
A live bait that you have a hard time catching in the well is going to be the good bait in the water. You know, if you got one that's up on the top of the water, he's not swimming too good, and you
Save him for last.
Exactly. He's the one that you don't really want. You want your bait to be really frisky, really alive. You want to keep your bait, you know, if you have a little bubbler or a cooler, you want to make sure you keep it really cold. If you have a inboard live well, you want to make sure you have a variable live well, I think, because, you know, you want to go, you're not all using one type of bait. And a variable type of live well where you can adjust the flow allows you to use a whole lot different, more baits. You can go from shrimp all the way up to big baits.
Correct.
And you can't do that if you just have
Correct.
one speed on your live well. Not only that'll knock them out. Well, with these sabikis we're going to talk about, you know, Ray makes some of the all sabiki rigs aren't created equal. They got a lot of shrimp juice on them, but and these are made for smaller baits. He puts the picture of the fish that you're supposed to catch on there, and as well as the weight of the main line, the weight of the branch line, and the size of the hook. And all those things are very important when you're trying to target a certain size bait.
Correct.
You know, you don't want to be using one of these when you're out trying to catch a big hardtail that weighs 2 pounds.
like
you want one of these, something that's got
You
a
can see 40 main line.
correct. You got 40 pounds of main line and 20-pound branches. So you know this is going to allow you to catch a lot bigger baits, even some toothier baits. Even probably won't get off as easy as they would on those smaller ones. And when you get them up to the boat, hold that up again. You'll notice that every one of these has a little thing that shows you what size of the de-hooker to use.
Right.
Again, which is very important because it fits the hook. It fits the gap of the hook, so that when you go to take the baits off and flip them into the live well, you're not damaging the bait. You're not damaging the mouth of the bait. It fits right in there and gets them right into the bait.
All right.
So I'm going to talk a little bit now about some of the ways we hook some of our baits. We're going to use a shrimp first because, you know, everybody uses a shrimp, and ooh, these are nice and lively like they're supposed to be.
So we have our popping cork. So this would be really good for redfish. This is good for flounder, good for trout. Exactly.
If I can catch a shrimp.
You said get the lively one,
That's
Dave.
right. I got one.
So how do you want to hook him?
Well, when I'm using a regular hook, I usually put it through the head or the horn at the top of the bait, and that allows him to swim a little bit more naturally. You know.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll put it in sideways through the horn so I don't brain him. You know.
Well, the key to not braining him, I'll tell you this after all these years of guiding, if you roll him over and look, he has like a little tobacco stain right there in his mouth. If you'll take the point of the hook and try to hit that tobacco stain, you'll be way in front of his little brain here. You see that?
I got you.
So he's got marks, the dot marks the spot.
Pull that jig up there.
Okay, here come the jiggy.
Now when I put a jig, I always do them through the tail when I use a jig.
Like so.
Correct. And this is my fish finder, and I catch, you know, like you were saying, you can catch everything on that rig. You know, trout, redfish, big flounders. You know, you're bouncing that thing on the bottom, everything will come in and eat that bugger.
All right.
And last but not least,
better be quick.
I don't know how quick I can be. We'll use a little one of these. If you're fishing for crappie or something with some minnows. This is a small shiner, actually, which is a great bait for a big crappie.
Make sure you show it to that
What I like to do is put it up through his lower jaw and out his nose. He's got a little nostril, and if you put it out that little nostril, that was perfect. And then let him go out there, and he'll swim like crazy, just like that.
Nice.
Bree, that'll catch a big crappie or a bass or whatever you want. You know?
Bree, you look good with this in your lip. That'd be a cool piercing, you know.
You're
a fishy chick.
I'm a fishy chick.
Yeah,
Y'all are fishy gentlemen. We're all fishy here. All right, we're smelling fishy over there. All right, well, we all know big old lunkers consistently come out of the lower fresh region. So let's see how our guide, Matt Reed, likes to target them. Let's hear it, Matt.
All right, well, we're going to kick this thing off talking about bait. You know, live bait or fresh cut bait are a great way to catch, multiple species. You know, when I'm guiding, I choose not to use live bait for my largemouth. That's a personal choice. But other species are great targets for live bait or fresh cut bait. If you want to target crappie, find you some man-made brush piles or even in marinas, which are easy to access. Drop live minnows down either under a slip cork or just free line, and you'll have great results. Blue cat and channel cats, they both love fresh cut shad fished on the bottom. You know, both of these techniques are great for filling the freezer with delicious fillets. Great way to get you some meals. Going to move on down, and we're going to start talking about the bass. Falcon Lake, it just continues to kick out great numbers and great size both right now. My best bite has been on a stand-up head with a plumb straight tail worm. Also, a Texas rig 10-inch ribbon tail has been very productive. 10 to 15 feet of water is best right now. Brian Cotter sent a report from the Austin area. Lake Decker is fishing really well. You want to work the grass, the edges with 4 and 5 inch straight tail worms and watermelon or green pumpkin. Also, if you want to fish the edges of the reeds, you can throw the same baits up there for some good bites. Brush piles out in the deeper water are where you want to target the biggest ones right now. Lake Travis is also fishing well. Lots of schooling bass in the deep marinas. They're bigger in the areas where on the main lake and in the deep creeks. Walking style topwater baits and small swim baits are catching those fish. You also can work the trees or ledges with soft plastics and get quite a few bites. Lake LBJ is going strong, throwing plastics around the shallow grass and lily pads in the mid to upper lake areas. Also, a frog or topwater is working well. The biggest fish are in that 12 to 20 foot range, throwing jigs and shaky heads out on the deep rocks. Mike Bates has sent me a report from Choke Canyon. Choke Canyon continues to just fish out great numbers and size. Still a solid bite on the hydrilla early in the morning with moving baits. Topwaters, lipless crankbaits, and chatterbaits are best early. Once the sun comes up, pick up your Texas rig with a big 10-inch worm to catch some more fish around the hydrilla. But most of the bigger ones right now are coming offshore in that 10 to 20 feet of water. They're in their summer haunts out there. Crankbaits, Carolina rig, soft plastic, and Texas rig are what's producing best. He says right now you really don't know whether it's going to be an early morning bite or whether they're going to fire later in the afternoon. So just get out there and have fun and see when it takes place. I got pictures of 2 bass this week. Mike Bates from Choke Canyon with one of a fish from one of his recent trips. And Pato, one of my customers here last week with a great big old falcon fish. I never get tired of looking at people holding big fish.
Me
Don't
neither.
either.
Tell us about the catfish quick, bub.
All right, Ram Reyes sent me a report from Falcon. The catfish are definitely feeding better at night. You want to concentrate on the main river ledges with fresh cut shad, carp, or tilapia. He's catching both eater size and trophy size catfish. There's a picture of Ram from a recent trip at night with a big old high fin blue.
Man, that's a good one. All right, bud, thank you so much for all the variation tonight. Covering everything real well. I appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the FiberTech hotspots from the lower fresh region. He says Lake Decker, the bass are biting well. Work the grass edges with 4 to 5 inch Texas straight-tailed worms in watermelon and green pumpkin color, as well as some crawl worms. Throw the same on the reed edges with some good bites there. The brush piles are out deeper, are really good for the bigger fish bites, up to 4 to 6 pounds.
Lunkers, like I said. All right, the 28th annual Skeeter Owners Tournament at Lake Fork is coming up on June 9th through the 12th. Thousands of Skeeter owners travel to celebrate the world's first bass and fish for their chance to win up to $200,000 in cash and prizes. Go to skeeterboats.com to register and for more information. All right, Rick, we're continuing the search for bait in the upper fresh and lower coast regions, coming right up, right here on the Texas
Insider
Fishing Report.
Thank you very much. Good
Teamwork
job.
makes the dream work.
That's it.
Wow.
I didn't.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Island Lures, Tournament Tackle. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Shallow Sport, Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Penn, let the battle begin.
When I head offshore, I'm always thinking about where I should go to find fish. And with SiriusXM Fish Mapping Service, I have access to oceanographic data directly on my display that shows me the areas that are most likely to have fish. The fish mapping services include all of SiriusXM weather features to keep you informed while you're out on the water, and several fishing specific features like fish recommendations, which makes it super easy by showing color-coded areas to fish based on ideal conditions for different species. If I don't see any recommendations for an ideal spot in my area, I use other features to help me find the areas with the best fish conditions. I'll look at plankton fronts and sea surface temperature fronts. These features show the areas where the most significant changes in plankton and sea surface temperatures occur. These strong fronts often attract bait fish that game fish feed on. I can see weed line locations identified by satellites where the most prominent weed lines appear offshore, and I can track their path. I can also look for upwellings and possible eddy locations that have been identified. These areas are where nutrient-rich water is likely to come up from below and where nutrients and bait fish are being concentrated. SiriusXM Marine Fish Mapping helps me plan my day before I head out, and it lets me make decisions about where I want to fish while I'm out on the water with information delivered right on my display. You know, Brie, with all the weather that they have in Texas, especially in April and May and June, what a great product for these guys to get. So guys, you need to go check it out. That's all I can say. It's a game changer for you.
Complete. All right, Lake Fork, Texoma, Levon, and Tawakoni in the Upper Fresh region are all waiting for you to make your best presentations. So let's get to casting with Mike McFarland. Talk to us, Mike.
Hey guys, awesome times here in Northeast Texas. Hey, bait theme, I'm loving it. Minnows, salties, crickets, worms, cut shad, brim, and pre-prepared catfish bait. Those are all things that we use in this part of the region for bass, crappie, brim, the little, all the fish you want to catch right here on Lake Fork and in this entire upper region. Most of these baits can be purchased at local marina stores and shops. However, to get brim or shad, you'll need to catch them yourself. You need to catch them from the lake that you are choosing to fish. It's non-transferable type bait. Small cut-up pieces of worms and crickets are great to catch the brim, but you'll need to know how to throw a cast net to catch the shad. Also remember, if you're buying minnows, that you must buy them locally from a local tackle shop or marina store, and keep your receipt so that you can prove they were bought locally. No transportation to other lakes of these minnows. But man, let's tell you about the actual largemouth bass on Fork. Water temperatures are ranging from 80 to 84. A little bit of cool trend the last few days, but it'll come back. Lake level 39749. It's about 5.5 feet below full pool. The bass on Fork, they've really finished spawning. They've moved offshore. Big crankbaits and chartreuse white, chartreuse blueback, Tennessee shad, those are really working well in about 10 to 14 feet of water on points. I'm finding the fish definitely out in the standing timber and in deep shell beds. On days when they're really not chasing the crankbaits, I'm using a 3/4 ounce football jig and peanut butter and jelly. Bass candy colors is also good. And then tip that jig with a type of double tail swimming trailers, green pumpkins, dip the tail chartreuse as always. There's something about that chartreuse on Lake Fork and these big bass. Also gone, believe it or not, already to the giant 8 to 10 inch plastic worms on shaky heads. Usually this is a little more of a summer deal, but they're already eating it here at Fork. Our best colors are plum apple, red bug, watermelon candy, and watermelon red. They could be some of the same areas. Long points with trees, timber, 10 to 14 feet of water. If you find that you get hung up with a shaky head a lot, just use a simple Texas rig. Be sure to peg your weight, because that way the weight doesn't separate from the worm in that timber and trees. Here is a couple of awesome pictures of a giant double-digit fish that Bass Lady Brooke caught just recently on Lake Fork.
Nice. Good job. Way to go, Brooke. All right, what else you got for us, bub? Keep rolling quickly.
Texoma, north end is fair visibility. The new water coming in, kind of 83 degrees. Bass are mostly post-spawn, shaky heads and jigs, swim baits also, and crankbaits kind of like Fork. In the south end, it's really good on swim baits and crankbaits. Green pumpkin colored jigs on rocky points and ledges, 72 to 75 degrees. There's still some bedfish in that south end. Tawakoni bass, they are still shallow. They're eating frogs, buzzbaits, poppers in the early mornings. Once the sun gets up, go to the docks, rocks, and brush piles with soft plastics, Texas rig, brush hogs, trick worms, and Cincos. I love Lake Athens. It's a beautiful lake. Guy Jay Bonner says that the fishing slowed a little, but the water temperature is 79 to 86. Morning time, fish the docks with underspins, the midday Texas rigs. But if you get out there early enough, you can still catch them on the frogs, in the lily pads, and the tops of the grass. How about some crappie fishing? I really love the crappie, and Terry Moon's one of the best. This is crappie on Lake Fork. The fish are post-spawn in 10 to 25 feet of water, tree lines along creek channels, brush piles around bridges. Really having the best luck on white and chartreuse jigs and blue and chartreuse. The brim are also showing up in some of those same areas in the brush piles and on the edges of the cross members of the bridges. Here's a great recent catch, some pictures of a recent catch from Terry Moon's trips. Man, her people just have so much fun.
That looks great. What else you got for us, bub? Keep going.
Lake Levant crappie. They've moved offshore too, just like Fork post spawn fish. Deep piles, deep brush piles, small jigs in white, chartreuse and white, but blue tipped, or blue, white and blue, but tipped with minnow seems to be the ticket here. Use your Garmin Live Scope. Find those bigger fish in the schools and pick them off individually. It's truly like playing a video game. Keeping on, stripers, white bass, and hybrids. Some of those are really fun to catch. Lake Tawakoni with Matt Cartwright. Hybrid bass are still schooling daybreak every day. However, the big winds have made it really hard to get out in the main lake. 1 ounce slab spoons in green and white, even some chartreuse. The fish are holding in 20 to 30 feet on the humps. You can easily catch limits of sand bass each day, but the hybrids and stripers are a little more difficult. They're catching a lot of juveniles. Lake Levant with guide Kerry Thorne. The white bass with big winds, the same thing as Tawakoni. Really hard to get out in the big water, but the white bass are running the banks early in the morning, 1 to 4 foot. You can really see the shad still spawning there. Small rooster tails in 1/8 ounce, white or yellow colors. 3 to 4 inch swim baits in white and chartreuse are also working good. But after 9 a.m., move out to the 10 to 15 foot if the weather will let you, and get on those points with 1 ounce slab spoons, green and white combinations. And if you make noise, I know it's crazy, but if you make noise, thump with a broomstick or have a thumper, you'll bring them to the boat and you'll keep them there a whole lot longer.
All right, Mike,
we're going to a couple more. Do you want me to jam some catfish?
We're out.
Catfish,
We're out
same as last week.
We're out of time, Mike. We got to go.
And Lake Fork.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the upper fresh hot spots from Mike's upper coast region. He says Lake Fork in the northeast Texas is once again prime destination for some of the best big bass action in the state. The lake is 5.5 foot low, and there are some big fish that are grouped up offshore in big numbers. Deep diving crankbaits, football jigs, and big worms used on shaky heads are yielding big numbers of very large bass on a daily basis.
All right, Rick. Well, it all begins with bait in the lower coast region. So let's see what Captain Chad Kinney has us zoning in on. Go for it, Chad.
I tell you what, when you talk about bait, I've got plenty of knowledge on that stuff. We've had a marina for over 10 years, and I just love bait when it gets to it. So we got Memorial Day weekend coming up. Looks like we finally got some break in the weather. We just got hammered by some rain, which was causing all that big, weather pushing all the winds we had lately. So it's finally going to simmer down a bit. But talking about bait, whether you're fishing inshore or offshore, it's really key if you're going to be out there to have good test of what's going to be happening with all these fish here, what they're feeding on, what's available in the bay system, what's going on offshore. It changes seasonally. So, live shrimp and croaker, they're seasonal, and they rarely overlap each other. We got commercial boats that run from Corpus Christi all the way down to Port Mansfield, so I'm really in tune with all this stuff. And when you're in a particular area, sometimes the shrimp mainly is going to be a spring thing and also in the fall, while the croaker is just in summer. And so that doesn't mean that you got to use that bait that time of year, but what it's doing is if you talk to your bait guy, even if you're not an artificial only guy, you might want to ask them, hey, what are they feeding on, what's going on out there, and adjust your lures properly to what the bait is actually in that system. So the fish will feed, definitely what's on out there is what I'm getting to, and it'll change with the season of all fishing. So if you're fishing offshore for snapper also, fresh bait is a huge, huge plus. Get them off the shrimp boats or your local marina. Fresh bait's great in that. Whether it's from ballyhoo, on your Islander rigs, you get that fresh with tournaments, it works out perfect. So basically, the best advice I can give you on that, check with your local bait stands, and they're going to tell you, they should give you some good advice of what's going on, what's hitting locally out there. So moving to inshore, Baffin Bay has really been producing some good numbers of trout and some redfish along the drop-offs and King Ranch shoreline, also in the South Lines down there. I talked to Connor and Hubba Reynolds. These guys are really good fishing. They do bay and offshore. They go from Baffin Bay, Corpus. They fish a lot of tournaments, and also down to Mansfield here. The trout bite's been really good. They've been telling me up there in Baffin, they've been hitting the pockets up there in like 3 to 4 foot of water. Live shrimp is on the tail end, but they're using them right now with the popping cork, and the live croaker is really starting to pick up pretty much from now. As we're talking about bait from now to about September, October is really working good. The early topwater bites also really good, they said. Mirror lure, the Top Dog Junior is working good. I like going with the bone color early in the morning. We're throwing some soft plastics and go with the 1/8 ounce jig head and put a saltwater assassin on it. Sea shad is primarily what I like always going to with that. And do a little slow retrieve, bumping out those rocks or the grass lines and the drop-offs out there. get a good solid picture right here of a trout that's been released. He's out fishing on the Shallow Sport X3, and that was James Dunks that released one out of Fort Mansfield there.
Nice. Let's go.
Going to Baffin again at South Padre Island, redfish. We're basically on the drop-offs in Baffin up there in Baffin, they're talking about using a gold spoon on a slower retrieve. And then once you head farther south town where I'm at, you hit the flats early and look for bait flipping, and then you can use a gold spoon with a faster retrieve because you're going to be in some lot shallower water. They like a chase, and they want to hit it quick. If you're using some cat bait, which a lot of guys are still doing right now, we're talking about bait situation, fresh mullet is a really good one. When you hit that Corpus area and Baffin Bay area, Menhaden is available up there, and that's really fresh. That works really good. You can throw them out there in the sand pockets, off the grass beds, and on the deeper drop-offs along the ICW for some better redfish action. Moving to offshore conditions have been rough to say the least down here in the lower coast, but I see this wind going to subside a bit. I think we can definitely get a huge break in June here. But when you get a short window like this weekend coming up, state water snapper fishing's on. Guarantee you they're going to be hungry because we haven't seen them in a while. We're sneaking in a trip here and there, but talking about the state water snapper, it's definitely great here out of Fort Mansfield. The reason is we got so many natural structures in state water. We got north, south, and lots of natural stuff out there, which provides more habitat. We got less pressure there, and conditions have been rough, like I said, of late. But we've been getting on only several days. But when we have gotten out, we went and tried the Trocar 3-ounce jig, and we used a FISHBITES, a grub from Fight Club FISHBITES, and Rick gave me that stuff, and hope it's good. So we went and tried it, Rick, and we dropped it down. And the first bite, we were starting to slam them, and it was good. They were hitting in the middle of the water column, all the way down, depending where the sounder was marking. We bounced all around the state waters to see and kind of test it out. And so we got a good picture over here with the red snapper we got that Trocar Eagle Claw jig head with it, and you see that grub right there.
Yeah, man, looks good. What else you got for us? Hurry.
I tell you what,
the
blue water's
it.
going to be coming in. I see it coming in. There's nothing, amberjack's going, but we're going to be hitting the blue water deep as soon as Mother Nature lets us, and I expect a lot of, wahoo, kingfish should be showing up. Everything's warming up.
All right, let me go, Chad. I messed up. I got to go. Sorry. It's time to take a look at the shallow sport boats, hot spots from the lower fresh region inshore. Baffin Bay has been good on trout and redfish out of South Padre. There has been some snook showing up in the South Bay and Brownsville Ship Channel. And then offshore, state water snapper still good when the conditions are good.
You want more? You can't have more. That's it.
I know. I want more, though.
I know.
Maybe we should make this show an hour and a half.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, get ready for some action in the GARMIN Middle Coast region next. But first, we're seeing what kind of new product action is happening over at the Workbench with Dave Farrell. Action Jackson, what's up?
Oh, we've got some cool baits to talk about. These are called No Live Bait Needed, which is kind of, ironic.
Hashtag No Live
show.
Bait Needed. We'll be
Wow.
back. To the point.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Fenwick, feel everything. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. And STARTRON, start, run, and store with STARTRON.
Today I would like to go over a little more advanced technique when using a POWERPOLE shallow water anchor. First thing I do when leaving the dock is pay attention to the wind direction and the sun. My goal is to fish all shorelines, flats, or docks with the wind and the sun at my back. Doing this gives me the best shot at sneaking up on fish and spotting them from further away. It also dramatically increases my casting distance. Throwing with the wind as opposed to casting directly into the wind is another key tip. Another advantage to approaching spots like this, when I'm working an area with the wind at my back, I do not have to use my trolling motor nearly as much. I also don't have to turn it up on higher speeds, which reduces hole slap and other noises that could spook fish. I'm trying to be as stealthy as possible and let the wind push me down a shoreline, giving me the best advantage possible. When I see a fish or I hook up, I deploy the POWERPOLE silently in the water. My boat remains facing downwind even with a single POWERPOLE anchor. Next time you're out on the water, fish with the wind and the sun at your back, and I guarantee your catches will go up. That's your POWERPOLE tip.
Well, we're here at the workbench, the Taco Marines, trolling the edge, and Dave, the new products is what we're going to talk about. So what do we got?
Well, first off, we're going to talk, the boys were talking a little bit about crappie today, so we're going to talk about crappie, Mr. Crappie, the bait blaster, and that's a 12-volt underwater light. Crappie are drawn to light, in the dark, even in the day probably. But these are mainly used at night. Green LEDs, fully waterproof. It's got an 18-foot cord, so you can get it down pretty deep. It's weighted, so it stays where it's supposed to. It doesn't go flopping around. 360-degree field of light, 5-sided with 180 LED lights in there. So it puts out 360 lumens, which is...
This is a T&H Marine product.
Correct. You go to thmarine.com. It's 12 volt. You just hook it up to your battery and catch you some crappie.
There we go.
Next, we got the no live bait needed. That's the mullet right there, the 5-inch mullet. You use that one with a 5/0 wide gap hook. Great for trout, lead fish. I mean, it's the boys that I talked to at the tackle store. These hand poured baits right here are the big thing right now. They're really liking them.
Man, that'd be cool if they could make a flying fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is the paddle tail, the swim baits. Comes with a really nice weighted head there. They come with a 3-inch paddle, an 8-inch paddle, and an 8-inch straight, and that's the 5-inch right there. So, the 8-inch one's a pretty good size.
Good Lord, look at the size of this hook.
Yeah, they got big 7/0 hooks in there, made for tarpon, any big drum, anything that'll eat a little bait. It's got the thicker profile and it doesn't roll over as much. And it's designed to be fished in a current. With these nice heads that they've got. They'll go up with the curly tail, with the curly keeper on there. Mm-hmm. They're made to fish in heavy current. Up to a 3-ounce weight, and that thing's made to catch great big fish. You can tell just by looking at it.
Yep.
You go to nlbn.com. No live bait needed.
Okay, what you got from Red Rum?
We've got some Red Rum aquatic gear. This is the sun protective shirt right here. It's got a hood and a face mask. It's a laser cut, so it's really, really finely done. Keeps cool and out of the sun. Mesh siding along the sides to keep the air flowing. It's also got the 20-inch. This is a patented thing. They put a little ruler on the side here for you. It's not exact, obviously, but it's a heck of a good way to just take a good eyeball and lay it up there against your sleeve and say, hey man, this thing's about 18 inches, this thing's about 12 inches or whatever. So it's really one of their cool things there. It's not official, just a quick reference guide. They also have a really cool sun hat. This is the Conch Republic one. This sun hat, they make it, it comes with a nice sweat band in the middle of it, which is a lot different than most hats.
Yeah.
SPF 50, a nice mesh on the back to keep you cool as well.
Different feeling. I like it.
Yeah,
trucker style.
RedRumInternational.com, and you can get that Red Rum stuff.
All right.
Yeah, I got a gray one here too. Look how they come. They come in a nice little bag.
Nice little package.
Yep, UPF 50 XL because I'm kind of an XL.
All right, so take your clothes and move on about yourself, right, Brie?
Last but not least, we got the shade fin.
Shade fin. The shade fin out there over on the boat.
Yep.
That's from Taco Marine.
Taco Marine, shadow in seconds is what they say. Easily attaches to a rod holder, tops, gunnels, convenient, portable shade. And you can pair it with a fixed or adjustable rod holder, so you can move it or not move it. You can leave it in one spot, like if you put it on the T-top, leave it in one spot, covers the whole deck. Or you can put it in a gunnel rod holder and move it all around to keep the shade where you want it. It's 5 feet by 6 feet, so It's a big area, 30 square feet, I guess, is what you'd call that. UPF 50, anodized aluminum parts. Everything's really well made.
And what I love about it is in bay boats, you don't have a T-top in most cases. So now you have the portability.
Yeah, that all folds down and goes into a little zippered case.
Exactly. You pull 2 pins, and the whole thing slides back up underneath
Easy
itself.
peasy.
Easy as 1, 2, 3 Z, right, gentlemen?
That's right.
TacoMarine.com.
Oh, yeah.
Shade fin.
All right, well, there's a lot to talk about in the Garmin Middle Coast region when it comes to bait, and there's no one better to talk about it than Captain Bink Grimes. So, Bink, tell us your thoughts.
60s right now. Live bait outproduces our artificials. We've been saying in East Bay while drifting that live shrimp under a popping cork outperforms regular soft plastics 10 to 1. Day in and day out, the real thing is so much better than a fake. Now you have to decide, what your fishing prowess are. Are you all about catch, or are you in the hunt to fool a fish with a fake? This time of year, we like to fish the jetty, and I rarely ever leave the dock without a mullet, menhaden, or shrimp to toss against that granite. Bait definitely evens the playing field. With that being said, let's get on to our reports. In East Matagorda Bay, lots of big trout caught and released this week while drifting. We were doing it with live shrimp under a popping cork. Above normal tides have ushered in streaky water on the east end, and those trout have been hanging close to the color change. Been using mid-coast corks with a live shrimp, about 3-inch shrimp, and they've been producing. In Port O'Connor, that topwater bite's been good early over sand and grass. Back lake areas are holding good numbers of trout on soft plastics and scented baits. The south shoreline around the jetty has been good around sand and grass. West Matagorda Bay, Ray Sexton said he's been enjoying good trout while wading. Sand and grass humps are holding lots of minnows and shrimp. I fished there this week and had good catches on bass assassins, and also had problems with sharks down there. When we got sharks all over us eating our fish, we know there's a lot of fish, so just waders beware. In Rockport, guide Red Price said he's fishing good along the shorelines for artificials, slow sinking corkies and soft tines, right up along the grass line at about 2 to 4 foot of water. Bass drop in Chocolate Bay around Freeport and Surfside have been good for live shrimp over reefs, targeting these nice heavy trout. Rocks around the harbor have been holding good trout as well. Most captains continue to do a great job protecting our bays, and our attitudes are really changing, and people are letting a lot of trout go. There's a photo here, a beautiful 8-pound trout we caught last week in East Matagorda Bay. We quickly released that back to the fertile waters. East Matagorda Bay really produces a lot of big fish. Inshore redfish, got Brett Sweeney, back lakes of ICW, been holding good numbers of mullet. Points holding shell on the south shoreline have been good for lots of reds on live shrimp. In Port O'Connor, wading the back lakes on gold spoons and small topwaters have paid off for reds for Captain Lynn Smith. Drifting those back lakes with shrimp has worked well. All those back lake game is driven by water levels. We had a little low pressure in the Gulf this week that pulled up our tides, so it sent a lot of those fish to those back lake areas, and it also gets you out of the wind. We've still been dealing with wind this spring, and so it's been a pleasure to have a lot more water to fish. Near Palacios, those redfish have been good on those wind-blown shorelines. That stirred up water actually gets those reds going. Mullet, menhaden, and shrimp have been the best bet. Then in Rockport, same deal. The Estes Flats has been good, a strong incoming tide, and also on the East Flats near Port Aransas on gold spoons. Offshore, red snapper, June 1st. Everybody's excited about it. They're still going out and getting those state snapper, but it's just hadn't been too many days you could do it. There's also lots of laying around wrecks, and the captains have had a rod ready to pitch to a fat ling when it appears. As a reminder, federal waters June 1st, red snapper, 2 fish per person. You can catch 4 in state waters, but no, you can't catch 4 in state waters and go out and catch 2 in federal waters. It's 4 total. So
Bink, I got a question for you. I'm holding a Mirodyne. Tell me real quickly how you like to twitch it.
I twitch, let it fall. Twitch, let it fall. And most of the time when it's falling, they will absolutely bang it.
All right.
Just bang it hard.
There it is, guys. The word from the man. All right. Thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the MirrOlure hotspots from the Middle Coast region. Bink says that you want to look for the trout. The trout are good while drifting with live shrimp under a mid-coast popping cork in East Matagorda Bay. The redfish are good on the Estes Flat and Rockport on shrimp. So what do you think?
Thanks for asking that question.
So Brie, what are you gonna do this Memorial Day weekend?
Twitch, let it fall.
Yeah, twitch, let it fall.
Let it fall. Got to dance already. I think I might do some fishing.
Sounds like a TikTok.
You wanna go fishing?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I have to go out of town, but then I'll be back Friday night late, so I'll probably rest and then go the fishing on Sunday.
And Dave?
I have no idea.
You have no plans?
I don't plan that far ahead.
Guys, don't forget,
Yes.
You know what? Don't drink and drive. Have a designated driver if you're gonna go out
Be
do
safe.
the sandbar, and
But have fun, but
you
be
know
safe.
what? Because it is really important to make sure that you wear that kill switch too if you have a bay boat under 26 feet. All right?
Yep. Everybody have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I know we will. Wearing those red, white, and blue.
All right.
I'm sure something good will
Prepping
happen.
for 4th of July, because you know what happens on 4th of July.
I'm going to Vegas.
I'm having a birthday and getting older.
I'm going to Vegas.
Oh boy. There
Taking
she
my
goes.
son's 21st birthday.
She couldn't wait to get her birthday. It's not even 5
I'm
weeks
done.
away.
Done with the birthdays.
And she's still.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Go catch those fish.
Make sure all
find
you
those
guys
baits.
send Brie a birthday card. It's really important to her.
Yeah, please send me a birthday card. Happy birthday, America and Brie. Bye.